Yeah, it's obviously exciting. It's an exciting day. It's nice to start at home. You work all season towards essentially this game going forward here, right? So, yeah, good feeling in the group. Feeling good about our game. So, yeah, it'll be a good series.
Can you learn anything from the series against Chicago and the series against Winnipeg? Moving into this series, or is that just in the past and there's nothing?
You know, that's in the past. We didn't do what we needed to do in those series, and we learned from it, and we'll move on.
Is it important not to get too high and too low in these series, because obviously there's going to be swings both ways, I guess, and is that one of the keys, just to kind of try and stay on even keel throughout the series?
Yeah, it's key. There's going to be momentum swings. You're going to lose a shift. You're going to lose potentially a game. You're going to go up a game. You're going to score on the power play. There's all these things that are going to happen. And I think it's important for a group to just stay even keel, like you said.
Hey, Leon, can you maybe discuss how different this year's team is with the additions of Kane, Hyman, and Fogle on the left wing, and just how much, where you guys are at with the added depth up front?
Yeah, it obviously gives us a lot more options than maybe in the past. A lot more depth for us as a group, a lot more depth for Woody to work with. So, there's three really good players, three players that have been in the playoffs, that have kind of done this whole rodeo. So, yeah, it'll be nice to have a little bit of experience, in our group in the dressing room. So, yeah, I think we're just excited to get going.
Leah, in the playoffs, of course, it's the same team all the time, so you focus just on them, and the matchups become a bigger thing. Do you get more excited? Like, you're likely going to be up against Kopitar or Deneau, most likely, you and Connor. Do you invest more? Like, do you scout more yourself on guys and their tendencies in a playoff series than maybe you would in the regular playing different guys all the time?
Yeah, a little bit. Obviously, it's. I think every play is a little more important right now. Every shift is a little more important. So, yeah, you focus on the guys that you match up against, of course, but I don't think you want to overdo it either, right? You want to stick to what you're good at, whatever Connor and I are good at. So stick to that, and everything else will fall into place.
And Jay has, in games a lot, some games when you're playing 11, there's different line combinations. Do you like that at times? Like, there's still the main set that you start with, but you're going different shifts. As a player, do you like the nuances and just the unique matchups that you get when sometimes you're with Connor, and then maybe the next shift you're with Hyman and Yamamoto, and then it's Puljujarvi? Like that as a player?
Yeah, I think there's nights where you probably like it, and then there's other nights where you don't much, but we're so deep up front that it really doesn't matter who you're on the ice with, right? They're all great players. They all make the right plays most of the time. Yeah. Sometimes it's nice to get a rhythm going with your own line, but there's also nothing wrong with, being on the ice with someone else. This
is your third year in a row coming to the playoffs for this team. That hasn't happened for a while. So whether you won in the past or lost in the past, what are the things that make you feel better about being here now? What are the things that a few runs at the playoffs leaves you calmer and perhaps more confident?
Well, I think, first of all, our depth is just better, I think. And we have players that have kind of been there, they've done it, they got experience, and also learning from those experiences we had the last couple of years, right? We all know we weren't happy with how it ended. We all kind of tried to learn from it and take the next step, right? So we got to show that in this series.
What about sort of, like, there's always anticipation, right? I've heard many players say you should be a little nervous. Maybe compare your feeling this morning to your feeling, maybe the morning of the playoffs starting in 17. Are you a different competitor today than you were then?
I was probably more nervous in 2017. It was my first playoffs. But there's going to be some nerves, of course. There's going to be a little bit of nervousness on both sides. Obviously, you get a couple shifts to kind of get rid of it and get right back into your game. So it's an exciting day. Obviously, we haven't had fans in the playoffs for a long time. So I'm sure it'll be a pretty good atmosphere.
That was my question, Leon. So the missing variable the last 2 years has been fans in the building. What do you expect, and what do you remember from 5 years ago?
Yeah, I think it's going to be loud. It's going to be rowdy. You could sense in 2017 that the people enjoy and love playoff hockey here, right? And so do we as players. So we're all looking forward to it. We obviously need our fans. We've been playing really well at home, and they've been a big part of that. They push us and they stick to us. So yeah, we're excited to get going.
Leon, you mentioned the Checkers before, Kopitar. What have you learned from Kopitar? I think you're on the same team back in the World Cup, were you?
Yeah. I was a different player at that time, right? I was young, but it's just a good guy. Really handles himself the right way. Obviously on ice, he's a really good player as well. So yeah, it'll be fun going up against him.
Thanks.
The leaders, Leon Draisaitl. I'm pleased to welcome you to the Oilers TV live pregame show. I'm Tony Brown. We've got a special guest with us, Cam Moon. Cam, thanks for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
Look at the excitement here tonight. I mean, the media room is packed. I went to go get a coffee this morning, and people came up to me wanting to talk hockey. You can really feel it in the air here today.
Even my walk to the rink this morning, normally you don't see people in Oiler jerseys around downtown in the morning. You do in the afternoon, but yeah, you can feel it right around the city, right around Alberta, all around oil country. It's a big deal.
It's a special time, but also featuring some special players. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, of course. These guys are driven to be the best. Not only the best players, but also be the best teammates. Yeah. And of course, we know hockey resumes are really factor in Stanley Cup championships. How much do you think the last two playoff disappointments kind of fueled these guys after listening to these guys the last 2 days, Ken?
Absolutely. It's huge. They've been through the disappointment and you said it, they're so driven to have team success. Yeah. And the fact that it hasn't come in the last couple of years, I think just adds and makes it even bigger.
All right, well, we got to jump to Evan Bouchard, who's standing right behind us.
Good, you? Good. First opportunity to get to the postseason. I know you've done it at other levels, but can you talk about just the excitement?
Very excited. It's a long journey. The regular season was a long one, but to make the playoffs was a goal, and we got another goal in mind right now. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Since Dave Manson's took over, he's played you a lot with Duncan Keith, and it seems to be a really good pair just in and when and where he uses you. How much of that is experience and what you learned in the first half of this year and a little bit last year, and then just pairing with Keith that's allowed you guys to be successful?
Yeah, when you get the chance to play with someone like that, it kind of makes everything easy on yourself and everyone else. So to get to play with him is something special. He's a really good teacher and mentor, and as long as I listen to him, I think that's why we're clicking so well. He's done it all, so he knows what to do in each situation.
Evan, for a guy like yourself, do you kind of have to ease your way into the playoffs, or are you confident enough to just jump in and do the things that you were doing in the regular season here in Game 1 of the postseason?
Well, we know playoffs is a different breed. There's a few different steps, but I don't think you want to really ease yourself into it. You want to get into it right away. You don't want to be behind the 8 ball early on. So I think you got to be ready for that next step coming playoffs, and I think we're ready for that.
Now, I know it was a pretty emotional up and down season. Things went well and then didn't go so well. Come playoff time, though, how important is it to kind of keep that even keel, regardless of what happens from one game to the next? Is that harder to do? It's easier to say than do. Like, how tough is it to do that?
Yeah, definitely easier said than done. If it was easy, everyone would be great for 82 games of the season, but I don't think that's always the case. When things aren't going your way, you got to find a way to do things something else that, a different way that, helps you out. And like you said, even keel is a big thing. If you go down 1 or 2, you can't, get caught up in that. You got to keep playing.
Evan, although this is your first playoffs, you had a chance to be, in the bubble and in the taxi squad. What did you learn from those two experiences?
It was definitely a tougher one last year. It wasn't the result we wanted after, a hard season. But I think everyone learned from that. Everyone on the team learned from that. We don't want that same experience to happen. So I think we're coming in well prepared and, really hungry at these playoffs.
Did anything kind of resonate with you in terms of, there are no fans, you weren't playing, but did anything kind of resonate with you about the atmosphere of a playoff series and what you could take going forward in them?
Yeah, I think no fans is something, no one's really ever seen before. It was different. You had to get yourself pumped up. But I think these playoffs with the fans here, I heard it's a different animal in this building in the playoff time. So I'm really excited to see it.
Evan, you mentioned Duncan Keith. He's played about 150 playoff games, so he's pretty much seen everything. Is he able to talk to you and say, just relax, stuff will come to you, don't get too hyped up because it's the playoffs?
Yeah, kind of. I'm sure a lot of people are just antsy to get going. But yeah, like you said, with someone like that, he kind of helps you out in more than one ways. And, that's one of the ways, keeping you even keel, keeping you ready for the next shift.
When you look at how many games he's played and you haven't played any, do you look at that and go, man, that's a lot of extra tough games, 150?
Yeah, it's a lot of games. And, he's pretty much done it all as a defenseman, as a player. He's won it all. He knows what it takes. It shows to how good and dedicated he is to the game. 150 games is a lot of games. There's not many, people that are playing right now with 150 games.
Thank you.
They're a hardworking team. They're well-structured, hardworking team. We just got to be patient with them. We can't, force things and, overcomplicate things. We got to play the way we want to play, and, and I think things will go well. I think it went well for us this season against them. Like I said, I think just playing the way we want to play. We know we've studied them. We've played against them, like you said, 4 times. We should focus on ourselves, not too much what they're doing, more what we're doing.
Back here, do you have any sort of playoff memories as a kid, whether you got to ever go to any games or series you watched, just anything like that as you get ready to kind of make your own personal playoff experiences and memories, but anything sort of growing up that stands out?
Not too much with me, no. I was kind of just, watch it all. When I was younger, I was a big fan, and kind of any playoff series that I watched was big. Nothing really sticks out with me too much. Me growing up, I was always a Toronto fan. They weren't there too much, but now it's different. But back then, it wasn't like that too much.
Well, Cam, we heard from Evan Bouchard. Of course, he was with the team in the playoff bubble, so has a little bit of experience of being around a playoff atmosphere. Who we're going to hear from next, Darnell Nurse, and all signs pointing towards he will play tonight, Cam.
Yeah, great news for the Oilers, for Oiler fans. He's got a couple of practices under his belt. Practice yesterday, morning skate today.
Yep.
Looked pretty good, so I would lean towards he'll be in tonight.
He's been taking reps with Cody Ceci, and what a surprise. I don't want to say surprise because I think we all knew what kind of a package you were getting with Cody Ceci, but it's safe to say he kind of exceeded expectations this season.
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, solid in his own end, has chipped in offensively. I think he's been a little better than most would have expected, and we expected him to be pretty darn good. So it's been a great fit, and love seeing him out there with Darnell.
Especially with that pairing of Nurse and Ceci. I mean, these guys have a great first pass out of the zone, and against a team like the Kings, that is very important because they're a hard forechecking team, especially the line led by Victor Arvidsson.
Yeah, and that pairing of Nurse and Cece, they go up against the opposition's best players, the best lines, and they're going to see the Los Angeles Kings best up front. So it's hard minutes, but those guys can do it.
All right, so we're talking about the defense. How about the last line of defense? That, of course, being goaltender Mike Smith. Looks like he's good to go. He was in the starter's net this morning at morning skate. Talk about a month of April. 9-0, 1.66 goals against average, .958 save percentage, 2 shutouts. Hey, you used to play goaltender in the Western Hockey League. What are you seeing different from Mike Smith that we didn't see earlier on this season?
Well, first of all, he's healthy.
Yeah.
It's probably the biggest thing.
Massive.
And was able to get on a roll. And his competitiveness, to me, that's what makes him so good. Yeah. He's an amazing athlete at 40 years old to do what he does, but just a great competitor.
Sorry, we had to keep it quick because Darnell Nurse is standing right behind us at the podium here at Rogers Place. Let's go there now.
Hey, Darnell, right in the back here on your left. Just checking in, a couple of days, what looked like pretty good ice sessions. Can you say at this point if you're going to play tonight?
We'll see.
I get the feeling that in order for you to miss a playoff game, I mean, you guys have been working hard for this, so, you know, in an ideal situation, you'd be able to play. Is there a balance here between, you know, wanting to not be in a position where you get hurt further, but also understanding it's the playoffs?
Yeah, and you don't want to put your team in a position where you're not going out there, you know, at 100 or close to 100. So those factors all go into it. But yeah, we'll see.
Over here, Darnell. What's it been like just mentally? I mean, you wait your whole season for this. You're the last 7-8 years for this, and then the time comes and it's kind of dicey. What's that like on you mentally? How do you sort of deal with all that?
I mean, that's part of being an athlete. You gotta stay. You know, you preach, stay in even keel. And this is one of those things when, you know, like you said, the last week you're dealing with something in the regular season. So hopefully it comes around. We'll have to wait and see. I'm sorry. My answers aren't going to be very great today.
No. For a lot of the long-serving guys, yourself, Nuge, Leon, you've waited a long time for this moment. You've been through some roller coaster stuff, and it seems like the team is in a really good place heading into this. Just what does that mean for you guys now to be here in this moment with, you know, armed as well as you seem to be?
Yeah, no, there's obviously a lot of confidence in our group, and we've played some really good hockey as of late, and, you know, over the course of a few months. So it's exciting to be heading into this meaningful time of the year. It's what you prepare for all summer, what you play for all regular season, and then, you know, this is the real deal here. This is what it's all about.
Darnell, back here, when you implemented as a team, why do you think the 70-11 forwards work so successfully?
You know, just, you know, obviously up front, you gets more guys probably into the game, and, you know, we have a lot of good offensive players that can play lots of minutes too. So, and, you know, on the back end, we've been able to manage ourselves and play the right way, and, you know who we're out there against. So it's, you know, it's just an awareness from the coaching staff and the players of, you know, being engaged in the game. And, you know, whenever you're locked in, it doesn't matter if you're at 12-6 or 11-7. You know, you just go out there and play.
You were part of a decent run in 17. You guys have been in the playoffs the last 2 years. Didn't go quite as well, but having all those experiences, whether you win or lose, you know, how different and how more prepared are you for a playoff run today than you were, you know, your whole team even 3-4 years ago?
Yeah, I think, you know, the more opportunities you get to play these games, you know, the jitters, like, you still get butterflies and whatnot going into the playoffs, but, you know, there's a sense of, you know, comfort when you get into games and you've been in these situations more and more. And we want to make that something that is consistent year in and year out. But for us, we got to focus on this challenge ahead. And like you said, we went on a pretty good run, you know, in 16, 17. The last two haven't went, you know, the way we wanted to, but at the same time, we just got to keep punching our ticket and giving ourselves a chance.
Thanks.
Good.
And there was defenseman Darnell Nurse, of course, having some fun with the media, saying we'll see if he's going to play tonight. But again, took all reps this morning with Cody Ceci. It does look probable that he will come into the lineup. Head coach Jay Woodcroft is up next. But Cam, you wanted to talk about something that Darnell Nurse said, and it talked about the core of Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl himself, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
Just the play. This is their third year in a row.
Yeah.
That it didn't go well the last couple, but still it's building blocks and it's experience in the postseason, and that's such a big part of it. I think it is, and this is a team that is very driven to make things go well for them, and it's. I just see them getting better and better, more experienced, and I think that's going to pay dividends.
And that's the natural progression of a leader and of a core player, isn't it, Cam?
Well, it is, and I mean, every time you get to the playoffs, it's tough to have success.
Yeah.
So let's be honest. There's only 8 teams out of 32 that go on to the second round.
Yeah.
I mean, the math's not good, but to gain that experience and to have that hunger and that desire, I think it's gonna be a factor for sure.
Yeah, Darnell Nurse referenced the 2017 playoffs. Of course, they went into Game 7 of the second round against the Anaheim Ducks. But one thing I want to talk about, of course, the Oilers last week clinching, or I guess just over a week ago, clinching a playoff spot, and then a few days after in Pittsburgh, clinching home ice advantage. But you have to take advantage of home ice advantage, Cam. And the Oilers, 14-0-1 in their last 15 at Rogers Place.
They've been playing very well. I honestly believe this. Yes, I know you get last change on home ice, and that certainly helps for your matchups.
Yeah.
But the way the crowds have been at Rogers Place have been unbelievable. And just the excitement, the enthusiasm in this city as the team was pushing towards a playoff spot and then pushing towards clinching home ice. There's something about that. And we didn't have that in the playoffs the last couple of years.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, empty rings. That's a great big factor, and the way the crowd just got into it here, I can't wait for the excitement of tonight. I can't wait.
I know. The atmosphere is going to be incredible.
It's unbelievable. But yes, you have to take advantage of it. But I think the Oilers have a little extra advantage just given the way the crowd is and the way the crowds have been in the past in the playoffs here in Edmonton.
Yeah.
So. We'll see what happens when it comes tonight. I know there'll be maybe a few nerves, a few butterflies, certainly for younger players that haven't been in this situation.
Yeah.
But again, you rely on that experience, a guy like Duncan Keith on the back end that has as many games under his belt that he does.
You know what I love about a moment like that is I love when there's a lot of pressure and butterflies and nerves, because at the end of the day, a hockey player in that situation will rely on their instincts. And I can't wait to see what Rogers Place is like tonight. By the way, I know you're with the Red Deer Rebels for many years, 20 plus years.
Yep.
And then I'm not sure how your schedule lined up, but when's the last time you've been to an Oilers home playoff game?
Would have been 06.
06, okay.
It was Game 4 of the San Jose Sharks series.
Okay.
So that was the second round.
Third round.
No, it was Anaheim in the third round.
Oh, it was Anaheim.
Yeah,
Look at that. See,
I'm
I'm getting my dates mixed up.
And it was electric. And the Oilers were losing and came back to win. I think it ended 6-3 that night.
Yeah.
But the atmosphere was, and I went
incredible.
to a lot of playoff games in the 80s with my dad, and that atmosphere in 06 was incredible. Like in the 80s, it was loud, it was pumped up, sure.
Yeah.
But that 06 run was unbelievable.
That series against San Jose was incredible because they lost the first 2 games
Yeah.
in San Jose, and the Oilers and Oil Country had to rally behind all of that energy, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot of the same tonight.
Yes.
Can't wait for it. But I wanted to go back to Mike Smith because I know we kind of had to rush it a little bit. What are some of the things that you notice in his game when he's playing on top of his game? I know he's very active with the puck, but what are some things he does in order to square up to the puck or in the crease? Like, what does that look like?
I find his tracking, and by tracking I mean eyes on the puck, watching the puck.
Yeah.
When he is really dialed in, he is right on it. He never loses sight of it. There's very rarely a situation where he doesn't know where it is because he's so dialed in. So I think that's part of it. I love how he moves the puck. I mean, that's amazing.
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
To see a guy not only be able to knock it down from behind the net, but then assess the situation, see where the pressure's coming from, and then make a good pass on the tape away from the pressure.
Yeah.
It's incredibly hard to do. There aren't many guys there's nobody in the NHL that does it at his level.
Yeah.
but there's only a handful that are really good at it.
Yeah.
And he is absolutely exceptional, and that changes everything.
Yeah.
So for the team playing against them, you've got to be smarter with your dump-ins when dumping the puck in, because once you give it to Mike Smith, he just moves it to the defense and it's out. It's almost like having a third defenseman back there. So the opposition has to game plan differently when a guy like Mike Smith is in goal.
And the LA Kings will definitely have to game plan differently. But how about the man? Actually, you know what? We'll talk about Jonathan Quick later, because it looks like head coach Jay Woodcroft is now at the podium here at Rogers Place.
I'll start. Darnell Nurse playing tonight?
We'll see. No, he'll be a game time decision. We'll see.
Will his presence, like, we never know if you're going 11-7 or 12-6. You've done lots of both. Does his presence tip that balance? If he plays, you go one way. If he doesn't, you go another. Is that how it works?
We'll see. Don't mean to be coy, Spec. I'm just, he'll be a game time decision, and we'll see if he's available to us.
One of the storylines that we focus on is, this power through the middle of the ice with McDavid and Draisaitl and Beno and Kopitar. And I wonder, with those matchups and with the way it works, if it makes it particularly more tactical from a coaching standpoint, in any way more so than any other game would be?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're strong down the middle of the rink. Lizott's a good player too. Byfield's a good player. So they're strong down the middle. We're strong down the middle. I think both teams compete very hard. Both teams will have good moments, and I'm sure their four centers will have some moments, and our four centers will have some good moments.
Given those matchups down the middle, do you view home ice advantage as being significant in this series, and the meaning of last change in a series like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we earn the right through finishing a little bit higher in the standings, is that we host the series in games 1, 2, 4, and 7. And when you are the host, you do have last change, so it's something that we will utilize for sure.
When you're going to play a team every second day for possibly 2 weeks, how do you prepare for the ebbs and flows that are going to happen, or do you have to kind of manage that on the fly a lot?
Well, I think the way we prepare is we use the last 2.5 months as dress rehearsal for this moment, which was we wanted to be ready for game 83. And so those moments presented themselves over that time span. And we made sure to capitalize on the moments as they presented themselves.
How have the philosophies of matchups changed over the years? Like Maddie and I remember a time when sometimes a matchup was a line racing to get off the ice and another line coming on and to replace it. And I assume that it changed after they took the center red line out. But how has that changed? And do you ever expect it to get back to that moment where you go for that real hard forward against forward matchup?
I think there's some moments in games where you specifically want to see certain things. I'm a big believer in being flexible. I would never want to let another team's bench dictate who I put on the ice, especially when you have some of the players that we have. So I like being flexible. I think we have a lot of really good players. I feel comfortable with them on the ice, buddy. As I said, I've said it to some of the local media here over the last few months. I don't want to be prisoner to something that was decided beforehand. In terms of matchups, I try and use the real-time information that the players give us.
And if you do go 11-7, is one way to get away from some of the matchups from the other side is that it frees up your two big guys to play more and in different roles.
I think sometimes, and we've shown a flexibility with going 12-6 or 11-7, but one of the things when you do go 11-7 is that it's more ice time for everybody. It's not just for the two big guys, so to speak. It's more people get involved in the game, but that might be an option for us tonight. We'll see.
Jay, in the playoffs, as you all know, they don't call a lot of penalties. So is the 5-on-5 even more important than it would be in the regular season?
Well, certainly a focal point when Dave Manson and I came up from Bakersfield had been to get the 5-on-5 side of things pointed in the right direction. I think we used those 2.5 months to be prepared with a sound, a tight 5-on-5 game that you can rely on. I think anytime that you can win games in different fashions, it makes you a stronger team. And that's been a big priority for us ever since Dave and I came up in the middle of February.
Conversely, if there's not many penalties called, when you do get 1 or 2 power plays, it's imperative that you perhaps score on those, because most of the game is played 5-on-5.
Well, I think what you want your special teams to do, and I would put 4-on-4 and penalty kill into that category, as well as you want your special teams to be momentum builders for your group. You know, you can't always control what the result's going to be, but you want to make sure your process is correct, and you want to build momentum for your team.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Jay, the playoffs are a different style of game. Do you feel Kassian and Foegele, the way they play, can be more successful? Is the playoffs geared to their style of play?
I think both of them have had some really good moments here over the last 2.5 months since Dave and I came up. I think Warren Foegele is a direct, straight ahead, physical type of player who does his best work from the top of the circles down. I think of Zach Kassian as being a momentum-changing having a momentum-changing physical dimension where he has the ability to close fast and get in on the forecheck, create turnovers with his physicality. I think people know when he's on the ice and that he's coming. And because of that forechecking pressure, it leads to rushed plays or turnovers.
Going back a few games, there's an incident in the Minnesota game where there's like 5 Minnesota guys and there was Kane and Yamamoto, and there was like a delayed reaction for the rest of the guys on the ice. Since that game, there seems to be more of a pack mentality. Was there a conversation that had in the room? Because there seems, not fighting, but just guys they stand up, they're more aware for one another.
Yeah, I think it's been one of the things I've been most impressed with our group of players, is that it feels like there's a brotherhood in our dressing room. And for me, when one of your brothers is in trouble, it doesn't mean you have to go and do things out of character. But when one of your brothers is in trouble, we want that pack mentality of just making sure that nobody's in a spot that is uncomfortable for them, and we'll do it together.
And lastly, a little lighthearted. We know the playoff beards are a big thing at times. You ever thought of coaches in a playoff beard? Would you do it?
No, I don't think so. I don't think anyone here wants to see what my playoff beard would look like. And I've gotten a lot older over the years, so I'm sure it would show a lot of gray if I did grow one. Good, thanks, guys.
There was head coach Jay Woodcroft, and just before the break, we were going to talk about Jonathan Quick. Cam Moon did have to bolt to a broadcast meeting here with the Oilers head coach, so it's a little solo effort here, but Jonathan Quick, a little bit of a resurgence. He's played very well this season, 23-13-9 record, a .910 save percentage. Maybe not the most eye-popping numbers, but remember, this is a man with championship pedigree tending the twine for the LA Kings. Of course, they won the Cups back in 2012 and 2014. Now, I also want to read you tonight's projected lineup. Now, this is presuming that Darnell Nurse is ready to go, so keep that in mind. The top 9 we know for certain will be Evander Kane, Connor McDavid, and Jesse Puljujärvi. Hyman, Draisaitl, and Yamamoto will round out the top 6. And then the third line of Foegele, Nugent Hopkins, and Derek Ryan. And this is where things get a little dicey because we're not sure if Jay Woodcroft is going to go 12-6 or an 11-7. If he does go 12-6, it was Josh Archibald taking reps with Ryan McLeod and Zach Kassian. if he goes 11-7, it's very likely that Archibald will come out. The defense core, Nurse and Ceci took reps all morning long. Again, all signs indicating that Darnell Nurse is good to go for 8 p.m. tonight. Duncan Keith and Evan Bouchard, they've been a solid pairing. And Brett Kulak and Tyson Berry are the first 6 defensemen. Now, if they go 11-7, one of Chris Russell or Broberg will draw in. The starting goaltender, Mike Smith, as mentioned, a perfect 9-0 in the month of April as he and the Oilers look to carry that momentum into Game 1 and Round 1 against the LA Kings. Enjoy tonight's action. This has been the Oilers TV Live Pregame Show.